On April 20, 1933, Adolf Hitler, then recently appointed Chancellor of Germany, celebrated his 44th birthday. As was his tradition, Hitler emerged from his Bavarian residence, Haus Wachenfeld, located in the scenic Obersalzberg region, to greet well-wishers and admirers who had gathered near the security gates. At this time, the property had not yet been transformed into the fortified Burghof, making public access to Hitler relatively easy compared to the later years when security measures were significantly tightened. Among the crowd, a little blonde-haired girl caught Hitler's attention. The girl's mother informed Hitler that it was her daughter's 6th birthday, a coincidence that seemed to delight the Führer. Impressed by the child's appearance and demeanor, Hitler invited the mother and daughter to his residence, where they were photographed together by his official photographer, Heinrich Hoffmann. This encounter marked the beginning of an unusual and controversial friendship between the dictator and the young girl, which lasted until 1938. The relationship raised eyebrows among Hitler's inner circle, particularly because the girl was of Jewish descent, a fact that could have led to severe consequences under Nazi ideology. The young girl, born Bernhardina Nino on April 20, 1926, was the daughter of Dr. Bernhard Nino, a physician from Dortmund who had passed away shortly after her birth. Her mother, Carolina, was a nurse who had moved to Munich in 1928, bringing along her mother, Ida Fürth. Ida was a retired teacher and a Roman Catholic, but she had been born Jewish with the maiden name Morgenstern. This detail would later become significant under the Nazi racial laws, which defined Judaism not as a religion but as a race. According to the Nuremberg laws enacted in 1935, anyone with Jewish ancestry was considered racially impure. Despite her Catholic upbringing, under Nazi racial theory, Ida was classified as a Jew because of her Jewish parents. This classification had implications for her descendants, including her granddaughter Bernhardina. Under the Nuremberg laws, Carolina was categorized as Mischling of the first degree, meaning she was half Jewish and therefore only partly considered part of the German race and nation. Consequently, Bernhardina, who was affectionately nicknamed Bernilla, was classified as Mischling of the second degree or 1/4 Jewish. Though legally allowed Reich citizenship, this racial classification placed her and her family in a precarious position within Nazi Germany's racial hierarchy. Hitler's interactions with children were often publicized, with many photographs and films showing him in the company of the offspring of high-ranking Nazi officials or his household staff. However, Bernilla was neither. Her unique position as a child with partial Jewish heritage, yet seemingly favored by Hitler, posed a complex issue. The photographs taken by Hoffmann, which were popular among the German public, led to Bernilla being referred to as the Führer's child, a term that sparked both curiosity and concern. Despite being informed of Bernilla's Jewish ancestry as early as 1933, Hitler appeared unconcerned, continuing the relationship. However, Martin Bormann, Hitler's powerful private secretary and an ardent anti-Semite, took steps to sever the connection. Bormann, aware of the potential scandal and the contradiction it posed to Nazi racial policies, instructed Bernilla's mother that she should no longer bring her daughter to the Burghof. Nevertheless, Hoffmann continued to publish photographs of Hitler and Bernilla together, much to the chagrin of the Nazi leadership. In May 1938, the situation reached a tipping point. Bernilla's mother was officially ordered to cease any contact with high-ranking party officials. The reasons behind Hitler's willingness to maintain this relationship, despite knowing Bernilla's Jewish background, have been the subject of much speculation. Some historians and psychologists suggest that Hitler may have viewed Bernilla as an exception to his otherwise rigid racial policies, perhaps seeing her as a symbolic figure or even as a reminder of a more innocent time. However, the true motives remain unclear, shrouded in the complexities of Hitler's personality and the political context of the era. Hoffmann later recounted that Hitler was notably displeased with Bormann's decision, reportedly lamenting, "There are people who have a positive genius for spoiling all my little pleasures." This statement hints at a personal attachment to Bernilla, which stood in stark contrast to the impersonal and brutal racial policies he advocated. Bernilla's grandmother, Ida Fürth, passed away in 1942. Bernhardina herself, unfortunately, did not survive the war years. She succumbed to spinal polio in 1943 at the young age of 17 and was laid to rest in Munich's West Cemetery. Her mother, Carolina, survived the conflict and lived until 1962. The story of Bernhardina Nino remains a poignant and enigmatic episode in the history of Nazi Germany, illustrating the complex and often contradictory nature of the regime's racial policies.